I think people here remind me of shelter cats because
Mm,
they are very skittish and they often equate gentleness and someone being kind as a transaction and as if they're
mm,
looking for something.
mm. Well, hey there, sweet peas. Welcome back to Friendless. I'm your host, James Avramenko. This week I'm joined by one of my newer friends, Leandra Guillet. We ADHD ping pong between exploring human insecurity and the cyclical nature of history to the joyful benefits of whimsy maxing and K-pop dance choreography. It was an absolute treat to chat with Leandra, and you're going to love this one, so it is time to lean back, get comfy, set your volume at a reasonable level, and enjoy my interview with the one and only Leandra Guillet here on Friendless. All right. So this week on Friendless, I am joined by someone who is a newer friend and someone who I met through this sort of the magic world of pro wrestling, I think. I've been really excited to talk to you because I've realized this is actually our first chance to have an actual one-on-one conversation that isn't with like screaming people behind
Yeah.
us. So welcome to the show, Leandra Guillet. How are you today?
Oh, we went with the French one, the
Oh,
fancy.
you
Yeah.
know, bien sûr.
I'm well, thank you. Just hanging out. It's another beautiful day in the city. Uh, Every day when I'm going into the office, I'm like, another day in paradise.
Vancouver's tricky. You said
Mhm.
you're almost going on about 10 years, hey?
Yeah, 10 years in August, which is pretty bananas.
I had lived here and then moved away, and I thought I had escaped because there is at times there's this feeling of like this city's so expensive you can't even afford to leave it. You
Mm.
know, you get sort of like trapped in the vortex. But since coming back, I've been really trying to lean into the like, no, I'm here for a reason. This is a good thing, and it is days like today where you're like, oh yeah, okay, I could put up with February being just 28 days of gray with
Mhm.
for this, right? But I don't know. How do you reconcile the highs and lows of being a Vancouverite?
Yeah, I think I probably should clarify. When I said another day in paradise, I was mildly being like a little facetious, but yeah, the hot and cold, it's very odd. And it's just like a very weird way that it affects everyone. We're all very moody, and it feels
Mhm.
like someone has hurt all of us to the point where we can't trust. And I wonder if part of that trust comes from we don't know how to dress when we leave, especially in like the interim months, like the transitional ones. It's like I need a sweater and a jacket in the morning, maybe, but by like midday, I'm sweating and in a tank top. But then
Mhm.
once the sun sets around like whenever, depending on fall or spring, like I need a jacket again and it's
Mhm.
cold and I need sunglasses and an umbrella. And so there's definitely like, I feel like I never can travel light ever whenever
Yep.
I'm like leaving the house. But yeah. I wonder
Yeah,
if there's, like, a correlation between the general mood and the atmosphere.
I mean, I think
Mhm.
you're tapping into a few different things that I really agree with. One being, I think the city's motto is "Who hurt you?" You know,
Mm.
that should be like the city slogan. But but you know, I think one reason I respond in the positive direction, we'll say, is you know, before we hit record, we were talking about wisdoms that our fathers have imparted on us, and one of them, what think I could directly link to like baby's first anxiety worries was my dad used to always love to say, it's better to have a layer you don't need than to not have one that you do. And so I'm still to this day, I'm always layering because even if it's like plus 30, and I'm like, yeah, but you never know. You never know. The weather might change. You know, those clouds, they're not looking too clear, you know? So I'm constantly going through that emotional algebra no matter what.
My correlation to that is I'm pretty sure my dad would always say, if I'm remembering correctly, he's like, "You never know where you're gonna have another meal. Always eat." And now I'm like, "Was that a threat this whole time?"
That's like something they say in war movies. They're always like, "Ah, yeah, never say no to a meal, and if you could sit, always do, and lay down, and always try and sleep." And it's like,
Yeah,
was your dad a soldier?
not
Was
at
he?
all. He worked in telecom. He's the sweetest little guy. I love him. Yeah, no, I think it's just he's just got some funny little quirks that he likes to say, but
Yeah.
yeah. Or he's like, "I'm always thinking of my next meal," and it's just like, yeah, very food oriented for like a very fit man. It's very funny.
I like the idea of being very food oriented. I feel like I could relate with that, but my personal relationship with food has changed quite a bit this year. I went first vegetarian then vegan about a year ago, and
Yes.
thank you. Not meant as a brag, and in fact, I kind of dread telling people it because more often than not, that for some reason instigates a fight. They start telling me I look for fights, and I'm like, I don't
I
you
mean,
know.
it's a
But
big commitment and it's hard. So like, yeah, I mean, it's a commitment you're making to yourself and stuff. So I think, yeah, it's hard for you.
it's
I didn't mean it out of malice.
No. Sorry, I was meaning more like I guess the thing that's changed my relationship to food has changed in that I'm like it's not that I don't look forward to eating anymore so much as I'm like I know how do I say I know I'm not going to be satisfied
Well,
because
that's very fair, actually. I
right,
can appreciate that. You're
right.
like, this
I'm
is a
still going to be
chore
cold,
now.
you know? Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Tofu is tofu.
Yep. And
You
it's
can soften
delicious,
it, but
right?
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but
No.
it's not cheese.
And that's like one of the things is like I'm very dairy sensitive. So it's like
Mhm.
cutting cheese out. And I've been like on and off like vegan or vegetarian, just depending on the phase of my life as well. But like there's no good substitute for cheese, whether it
There
be
isn't.
cashew or
Mhm.
coconut or
Mm.
soy or like probably mildly plastic. Like none of it's good.
Yep. Yep.
It's devastating. I almost wish we never, like, befriended cows the way befriended. Sorry. I don't think that's a friendly thing we're doing. We're not like, "Hey, friend." Um, anyways.
No, but you're spot on. My sister and I were talking about it. She was sending me videos of her daughter, who's about a year and a half, going on almost 18 months, give or take,
Mm.
and the way her face lights up when she is given cheese, like the world is just perfect in that moment when that slice of cheese is given to that child. And we've realized just like what a chokehold like big cheese has on the Avramenko clan.
Well, it's like no, I'm just, like, pondering about it, if I may wax poetically.
Please, that's what a
It's
podcast is
like
for.
when I was in post-secondary, we had a class where our assignment was we just had to like pick whatever our favorite or what we think was the most important invention in history. And at the time, I was like, the printing press.
Yeah.
Gutenberg, is that his last name? Or was
Gutenberg.
it Johann? I don't remember. I used to know his name off the top of my head, but
Wait, wasn't it? Isn't it? It's not Gutenberg.
oh, it isn't Gutenberg, but his name. Oh, is that his name? Johann Gutenberg? Am I making Johann up? I might just be saying that.
I c-
I feel like it's a name that used to be used a lot, and it's like one of my coworkers' first names, but it's he doesn't go by it. But I just for some reason just like knowing it's there makes me think about the name a lot, and it's one of those weird, just like hyper fixations where I just like. Anyways, I don't know if
I
that ever
love it.
happens. Or that's just like things like also swag. I can't stop saying swag, and it's in response to anything, good or bad.
Swag. Yeah.
Literally, someone's like,
Yeah.
"Are you good?" I'm like, "Yeah, swag." Why?
Uh,
Why?
there's a word for that in the neurodivergent world, and I can't place it right now, but it's something along the lines of it's a vocal stim basically.
Yes, I'm
But
going with echolocadia, although I do
not echolalia. It is echolalia. It's a
echolali
form of
I was just
echolalia.
I know the first part of the word, and I was just
Yeah.
gonna mumble through
Yeah.
the to see if we got there.
You know what? We were both right, by the way. As you were talking, Johannes Gutenberg was so we you know what? Look at that. We're both right.
Look at that. Hey, we did
Look
it.
at us. Look at
Against all odds, we did it.
It's amazing. I do hit a point when I have these thoughts when I'm like, "Oh, whose name was that?" Was that like I often default to like and it's amazing to think that we'll never know. And we have no way of ever knowing that information. And like my brain immediately doesn't go, "Hey, Google that." It's just like, "Oh, I guess
Sure will we ever know? It's
how
impossible to say. It's impossible.
exactly." Yeah.
I was camping in the woods and I lost service, and we just kept sitting around being like we literally would say things and be like, Who knows?" And I was like, "This is how our parents just had to live. They just had to,
Yeah.
like, guess and just take things at face value. What are they gonna do? Carry an encyclopedia
Mm,
Brown around with them and just be like,
mhm. But
"No." Anyway, sorry, I brought up the printing press literally to say I was gonna say maybe cheese is humanity's best invention,
Oh, yeah.
and that's I
It's
realized I
not
never finished that thread, and
is
now
it
that I'm medicated
pasteurization?
for ADHD, smushed.
Mm.
Anyways, back what you were
Mhm.
saying.
We're gonna do this ADHD ping pong here though, because you raised a really good point about like you were out in the wilderness, you didn't have Google, and you just had to like believe a thing. And there's a part of me that like, you know, I hate to be one of those people who's like, God, kids these days don't know how good like they'll never have it as good as we had it, kind of thing. But like, there was something really magic about like being out with a couple of people and having an argument about like whether it was history. A really easy example is like sports statistics, and you would just like one of your friends would be undiagnosed autistic because no one was autistic in the early 2000s, and but they would just know all the stats. They'd be like, yeah, Gordie Howe elbowed 7 people in on May 19th in Chicago or whatever. Like you would
Yeah.
know these things and
Hmm.
you would just go, yeah, I believe it. Thanks, buddy. Or you would fight him. That would be the other side, is you would debate him, and that would be your whole evening would be debating how many times some guy, you know, scored a point in hockey,
I will say there is a thing where I don't know why, but I've given an impression to a lot of people in my life that I know a lot of things.
Mm,
And I know a little bit about a lot. I don't know a lot about a lot. I know a little bit about a lot, but it's
mhm.
fun because every now and then people ask me something and I'll use context clues to give an
Yes.
answer. And I would say oftentimes I'm right, but I will just say things without context. And then I like to be like, but you should fact check me. I never fact check myself. So you should fact check me. So this could be allegedly.
Yep,
I'm like,
yep.
I think rain happens allegedly because blah, blah, blah. I was about to like do that. And I was like, wait, I don't, I'm like, I do know how rain works. I just don't want to prove it to you right now.
Wait, how does rain work? I know I learned this in one
Mm.
of the first few grades.
So it's
It's like the water gets it goes up in the
sun
sky,
hot, sun hot, sun
but
makes
hot.
make
Yes.
molecule move faster. When faster move, turn to gas.
Yes.
Gas go up. When
But
gas
then get
gets
heavy.
cold, gas get hard. When hard, water, hard, snow. When snow, when snow moves faster, turns to water.
Iconic. This is why 8 years of podcasting has led me here. To this moment. This is it. This is it, people. Soak it in.
For a long time, I thought maybe I would become a teacher. And then I tried teaching kids French in the summer. And let me tell you, I'm never going to teach again in my life. But sometimes I wonder, am I depriving our youth of just like the pure entertainment of just like, imagine a history class. I
Oh,
make
yeah.
everyone dress up. I'm like, you all will come with a bed sheet tomorrow. We are going to pretend we're a consulate. Behold,
You're going to learn all the different ways to tie your togas depending
literally.
on what class you live in or are
I'll be like,
representing.
okay, so you're patricians. You get 3 stones for this vote. Ooh, you're just a plebeian family that's paid to get in. 1 stone. 1 stone.
Actually,
No
that's for the whole
vacations.
it's actually 1 stone for the entire population. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
get
You
that
guys
one.
have to, well, all 17 of you, you get 1 stone. Each rich person, and you get three. What's
Yep.
changed? What's changed? I'm
What's changed?
looking. What's changed?
Nothing.
The
Nothing.
past. They really are just like us. I'm kidding.
Leandra, I'm gonna try and steer us back somehow.
Sorry. Okay.
No, no, this is nothing to apologize for. We're gonna do these digressions again. But to circle us back, I think we should maybe lay some context for
Ah,
any listener who might not be familiar with you or who you are or what you're about. I was trying to open a conversation with who the hell are you?
that's a great question. Wait a minute. Who are you? Vines. God, I love them. Who am I? I don't know. I'm just a guy about town. I have had a very wild, weird jobs, and that's introduced me to many, many people, and that's been really cool and fun. And yeah, I'd like to say I'm very rich in the connections I have.
Mm.
That doesn't really tell you about me, though. It tells you about other people. Yikes. Okay. What is there to say? I grew up dancing. I grew up in a little suburb called Canada Lakes. I have been realizing recently there's a lot of my childhood that I've been sitting pondering and being like, "Ah, maybe I'll write a book, maybe I'll write a memoir."
Mm.
I'll think about it and be like, "Oh shit. What do I even remember about my past?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh no," because I remember being that age and I remember like how I felt, but then I'll be like, "Okay, but what happened? What happened at that
Mhm.
party? Why are we no remember?" Intriguing,
Mhm.
intriguing. So yeah, so now I'm just like drawing a blank. I really love
Yes.
history. I love art. I'm still dancing to this day. I do like fun little like music video covers, specifically from like I get so embarrassed about it because I don't know how to own my shit. Like K-pop dance covers. They're really
Mm.
fun. I love it so much. It has brought so much joy into my life. And like it's also by proxy brought so much joy into my parents' life. They love to watch me dance. It's so sweet.
So when you say you do covers, like, you learn the choreography and
Yes,
you
yes, 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 yes,
recreate it?
yes, yes.
Amazing.
I do
Oh,
not
cool.
speak Korean. I do not learn the songs. We're not singing. We're just doing the
Yes.
body dancing, and so it's,
Yes.
like, covering, like, performance videos, or if they don't have, like, set choreography, like, choreography they would use on, like, a performance stage or something, which have been really fun.
I
Work
feel like
in
anything that gets you moving like that,
Oh,
like
yeah.
anything that's bringing you joy. Like I'm my partner, they're a big advocate for what they're calling whimsy maxing lately.
I
And
love
and
to be whimsy.
and it's just like it's just such a powerful tool and I feel so inspired by them to just be like whimsy max it. Let's go, and just like cuz like yes, the world is real rough right now, and
Mm.
we're like a half hour away from a nuclear apocalypse, basically at any time. But like at the same time
Trinkets.
too, that's just it. At the same time too, like yeah, but look at this little bobble, like look at this little silly guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do like to, because nothing's new, nothing's ever an original thought. I do
Mm,
often feel as though the like, I don't know, I feel a weird gatekeepiness around, and we can unpack that too, because that's
mm,
like one weird thing. I can be inclusive. I don't know what taught me to be so competitive in my youth that I'm like, I can't share this interest. But we can discuss that. Maybe my
mhm,
need to feel like an individual, to feel important. Who
mhm,
knows? I'm
mhm.
like, will I send this to my therapist later? Mayhaps. Um, oh God, what was I even gonna say? Oh, does whimsy, this like weird resurgence of like focusing and wanting whimsy, it just
Mm,
reminds me so much of the like response to the Baroque, which was Rococo, which
mhm,
also is like the response to like clean girl aesthetic, which was like the original manic pixie dream girl. Cause like
mhm.
whimsiness and people being like, I like trinkets and toys. And I'm like, oh yeah, same. And I love it. But I'm like, that is just a complete rebrand of like the manic pixie dream girl, which is fine. I'm so
Mhm.
happy to know we're alive and well. We've always been here.
What's fun about the current iteration is like, have you seen Obsession yet?
No, I really want to.
Okay, it's really good. I was halfway through the movie and I was like, I think this might be my favorite movie of like the last decade, like before it was even over. But there's this beautiful kind of perversion of the manic pixie dream girl aesthetic. It's definitely a throwback, but in a very fun and very horrific, haunting way. I don't want to spoil too much because you haven't seen it yet,
No?
but the idea of the cycles is something that when I was in theater school, my one of my favorite profs would always talk about that. She would say like all of fashion is just it goes big and then it goes small. That's it. And it always, we're in a period where it's big and then we're in a period where it's small.
It's
Always
always
just
a
goes back and forth.
response
Yeah. Yeah.
because whatever's popular, the next thing is going to be a response to that of like, oh,
Mm,
are you tired of this big thing? Have a like we just had the clean girl aesthetic after
mhm.
mob wife aesthetic, and now we're heading back to the resurgence of indie sleaze,
Yeah.
which is just it's so fun to like watch them go back and forth and like what trends say about us. Mark Twain famously said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. And that's one that I
Hmm.
like to hold to because
Yeah.
it's not always the exact same thing. It's not copy paste, but you're
Mm,
like, oh, the themes are here.
yeah.
The general overture is here. Like
Mhm.
like the current doesn't change often.
Where do you think those rhymes kind of come into play? Because I
Mm,
often see it as this idea of like we see patterns repeat due to lack of awareness. Like
yes.
and so when we are running on instinct, the human instinct, the little monkey brain that is just like, "Ugh," we'll have sort of common reactions that we can kind of base on. And maybe sometimes that reaction has a sword in its hand, and
Mhm.
sometimes it has a gun in its hand, and sometimes it has a, I don't know, b- b- a corset. I don't know, whatever, right? But
Yeah.
I'm curious, from your perspective, where does that repetition come into play?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the sentiment that like we often are not focused on longevity. And I think at
Mm,
humanity's core, like the whole like miracle of consciousness, which is so unique to us and unique to each person. I think sometimes there are people who I always say, like, when they're called to awaken, they're called to awareness when they're awakened, like they can see kind of outside of their own like individuality and take a step back and like kind of look at the problem as a whole. Or maybe I'm just dipping into socialism and communism too much, but I like to think of it, you can like take a step back from yourself and be like, for the longevity of the community, what should I be focusing on? And instead of just like really digging into your own goals and wants or like short-term greed, focusing on just, yeah, like how to keep things together. And I think humanity's always been grappling with how they're seen and how they want to be seen. And I think, I mean, a big part of what I studied was always art. And some of the most amazing monuments were built during times of civil unrest and war
mm,
because they wanted
mhm,
to be seen as doing well. They wanted to be seen as like flashy and nonchalant. And it's like, even look at how people handle like a media PR nightmare.
mhm.
Those like handbooks on how to handle like something that does on a grand scheme of things isn't a big deal. Like hashtag getting canceled for something silly, like
Sure.
whatever. Like say you said something inappropriate a few years ago. Absolutely educate yourself, be better,
Yeah.
move forward, like take accountability for yourself. But like, oh, I've lost my train of thought of why I brought that up. But like, I think it's just like, yes, I brought it back. Just like, yeah, our fear. Oh man, where was I going? Every now and then, I think just at its core, I think what I'm circling around is like, we're very insecure as a people and we
Mm,
want to be seen as worthy and we want to feel part of the community,
mhm,
regardless of how strong or differently you feel. It's like how we fit into the community is always a peace of mind. Whether you're like, I'm over the community, I don't want to be a part of it. That is still a thought of the community.
mhm.
And that's such an underlying current for me is just how we want to be seen. Because
I
some people are
love
so
that.
flashy, you know?
Yes.
And it touches every single culture, it touches every country,
Mhm,
it touches every age. How do you wanna be seen? Egypt wanted to be seen so stylized, and there are different,
mm,
like, pharaohs and periods where they use different art, but so much of it has been, like, scratched from history because, like,
mhm.
this very hyper stylized type of art and, like, hieroglyphics that we see from the majority of, like, mainstream Egypt is hashtag big Egypt. Was so, like, one way, but it creates this, like, timelessness
Yes.
where it's like it's just I don't know. Art is just learning more about art is just learning how people have wanted to be seen. It's all just an
Mm,
expression on like and I think you literally said it like before we started when we touched on like pronouns, like
mm.
it's kids saying, see me, like
Yeah.
this is who I am, see it. And it's
Mhm.
like our attempt to be like, because I'll never know if what I'm saying is reaching you the way that I meant it to.
Yes.
I think so much of the way that we've tried to, and so people pick fear and their fear manifests in violence because I think it is scary. And sometimes people are like, I'll hit before I'm hit because I don't want to get hurt because
Yes.
someone has shown you that if you don't strike first, you'll get hurt.
Mhm,
And a lot of these things I think are taught behaviors, and then it's like
mhm.
nature versus nurture. If it is a humanity's nature to be evil, then how did we ever learn to be good?
Yeah.
Goodness must have come from something. So if that's inner nature, then how do you nurture something that you can't have?
Well, and I think I'm really struck by this idea of like the baseline of insecurity and validation, and I think that that is way more on point than most people would probably want to even admit. I remember a couple of years ago, I had it was this is such a silly example, but a couple years ago, I put out a TikTok that was actually a reply TikTok to a different thing I'd put out. I'd
Yeah.
put out something, someone had made a comment, and I'd made a little reply video saying, "Yeah, the funny thing is, as a friend of mine likes to say, most of history is just men not knowing how to deal with their emotional dysregulation." And this TikTok went banana town. because so many men were like, "What are you talking about?" Right? They all went fucking ape shit, and they started doing things like because they basically took it to be like, "Oh, you're telling me men are bad leaders," which is like,
Yeah.
whatever. That's not what I said, but also, yeah. But they started to try to make counterpoints. They started trying to raise examples of female leaders, and they kept on coming back to Boudica. That was their big gotcha example was Boudica. Every one of my videos, I would reply to the comments just cackling because I'd just be like, "This is your one. This is your big like, oh, gotcha."
I mean, on top of my head, I'm like, okay, well, I can give you a few really like crummy, but I'm like, I'll hold my tongue, for you do not need to know their names.
But that's just it.
Women are perfect.
But to me, even that like comparison of like the male female who like whatever, it's more about like the vast majority of conflicts are due to the insecurities and the dysregulations that leaders aren't willing to deal with within themselves. Look at what is going on in our world right now, like, and it's not just one guy's fucking it up, it's a system is fucking up collectively. And so many people are too insecure and too afraid of their own personal social standing and their perceived power and control.
Yeah.
And why is power and control important to them? Like, why does it matter to them to have control?
I think it's
Like,
because
what
life
is
is
that
inherent.
stemming from? Exactly.
Sorry, yeah, it's just
No,
life
please
is
build on. Yeah,
inherently chaotic. Like,
exactly.
even like we don't know why we're here. And
Mhm,
so throughout known communication, like we've given ourselves reasons as to why we're here, whether that be modern day religion, whether that be like, creation myths and mythology from different generations and different cultures, like, be it Turtle Island all the way to like making the Big Bang. That is also like a mildly a creation myth. Like we have an
mhm.
idea, and I think there's like an echo of it, but like I'm also like, this is my parents always get so mad at me, and I'm literally my whole family was like, "So you don't believe in science?" And I'm like, "I never said that. All I say is I like to just be a little bit more skeptical about everything because everything we know is taught to us by people, and maybe this is too much. Like I'm too lost in the sauce, but
Mhm.
like I feel like also a lot of things that we know now aren't fact in like 10 or 15 years. So I'm like,
Yes.
okay, like this could be true. I try not to, which is also huge. Which is crazy that it's also like the only thing that I'm like trying to be like cautious about extremes is science. But everything else, I sweep generalizations. I was like, hashtag amen stuck. I was like, okay, hashtag not amen.
Yeah, but what about the Big Bang? We gotta be nuanced about the Big Bang here,
I just don't think we should put all of our, I mean, not every Big Bang is the same.
Well, I just read a horrifying book that scared the living shit out of me called End of Everything
All at
Physically
once.
Speaking or something like that. And it was all about like the heat death of the universe and where
Mm,
does existence come from and all this shit. And it was talking about the concept of the Big Bang and it was talking about how seeing stars is like seeing time. I don't know. It fucked me up. But even it was like, look, the Big Bang as it is understood by the layman isn't actually what the Big Bang is, and the concept of like there was just this big ding, like that's
mm,
not actually what it was. But those concepts, the one that always fucks me up, and that I know, like at its baseline, I believe about evolution. Like I get it. I'm not like no, some guy came and you know made cows out of dirt or whatever the Bible story is.
it
But
happens.
for me, evolution just baffles my mind because of the scale that it has to exist on. To think that it's like there were wolves and those wolves had black fur and then they were in a place where there was snow and they were like, okay, in a million years, just because we thought about it, we now have white fur. And that just like that fucks me up. And I get it. I know smarter people than me can explain and understand how it works because it's like, well, they die if they don't have it, and the ones who do have it. But it's like, how
It's
the
all
fuck
gambling.
does that happen?
It's all gambling
Like,
and luck.
yeah,
Like, how do photos work? I studied the history of photography. I understand like the chemical process of like capturing an image. Actually, I don't understand how digital work. I do not understand how digital work,
No,
and one day I'll learn, but right
no.
now, brain too small, brain too smooth,
To me, it's
and smart.
aliens. It's just that we had alien contact in the 1950s. They gave us technology, and they, you know,
Video work, it's like, I don't know, I think sometimes people are like, "There's no magic," and I'm like, "Bird fly."
yeah.
The fact that, like, a
I'm also
gene
talking to you from across the city in real
metal
time.
box. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that, like, instead of sprouting hair, Bird was like, "I shall take this thing to protect body and make a stick, and on that stick, these tiny little fluffums." You
Yep.
know? Like,
Yep.
that's
Yep.
bananas.
Yep.
I'm trying to stop saying that's crazy because I do know I need to stop using that word so, like,
Yeah.
colloquially. That's just the
Yeah.
hardest one. That has been the
Yeah.
hardest freaking one. Ooh,
Yeah.
it's been so hard to take
I've been
out.
I've been trying really hard to replace it with Banana Town, but it that
What?
that's been my go-to. Anytime I hear myself saying it, I try to be like, "That's Cuckoo Down Banana Pants" or something. Like, I just try to make it really, like but because then it's, like, a bit of a game for me. Because then I get to say a funny, silly thing, but it's like yeah, because I do clock myself using a lot of, like, "That's nuts, that's crazy, that's this," and I'm like, "Oh,
My
but I'm
nose.
those things. I need to be nice to me,"
I know,
you
I'm like,
know?
at what point is it just reclaiming the word?
You know, there is a private argument that I don't make in public about the hard R word because according to the Canadian government, I am that word.
This is how I
So
feel
it's
about
sort
the
of
F
like,
swear, man. Like, every now and then, I'm just like,
"Really?"
or using, like, gay to mean a bad thing. Only in the
Mhm.
context of there is nothing to me what that word meant, like, in relation to, like, what they were referring and what they would use
Yeah,
it for. There's
yeah.
nothing that fits that more to me than traditional straight male behavior.
Exactly.
And there's
Yes.
nothing that's like,
Yep.
"What are you so afraid of? Relax.
Literally,
I'm not
literally.
gonna fight you." Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. Take a deep
Mhm,
breath,
mhm,
release it. It's
mhm,
a and I think this comes back again to, like, insecurity, and I think it's
mhm.
just 'cause, like, I'll never know what's going on in your brain. Say you've decided to just tell me, "Oh, I know everything. I'm good."
Mhm.
Like, and I'm like, "Oh, I don't know that." And you seem so assured of yourself. Even if
Yep,
inside you're like, "I don't fucking know anything." But
yep.
like, that's, it's just that's how
That's how we
leaders
get cult
they
leaders.
they literally just smoked and mirrored their way and like
Mhm,
show ponied like divine right of birth is bullshit. It's literally
yep.
like family just was opportunistic, which
Mhm,
truly is also a cornerstone of
mhm.
humanity, I think.
Well,
Humanity.
especially when I mean, God, if you wanna get you could give direct examples of that, of, like, bloodlines rarely, if ever, actually continue intact the way that they claim them, you know? Like, I mean, the first what is it? The first 10 Caesars? No, not 10, but, like, the first, like, 8 Caesars are supposed to all be Julio-Claudian, and not a single one are blood relations.
So many of them are like also like this was I think Nero was a nephew and
Yeah.
then Augustus was
He was
no, I
he
think I'm
was he
making that.
was
That's Caesarian.
Yeah, Caesar adopted him after his death, but he was I think he was his nephew. I think it was
Yeah.
his sister's son, I think.
I'm gonna tell you what, I'm gonna pick up my book on Greek history and I'm gonna
Right.
study
Yep.
later. I don't know why that had to happen,
Yep.
but
Yep.
here we are.
Yep. I always make my partner laugh because I'm always like, "Oh yeah, I'm back on my Greek history kick. I just listened to
Yeah.
3 books about the same topic." You know, it's
Yeah.
like they'll be like, "Why?" It's like, "Well, because you know, you got to get like different perspectives, and you gotta have the information reiterated a few times. Like it doesn't stick. It's not like you read it once and you're like, oh, I remember all that.
I
You
also
got to
just want
get
to
it.
acknowledge we're talking about Roman history. I know I keep saying Greek and we
I
also
did the
keep
same.
Greek.
I
I know
know.
I'm like, ooh, just in case someone's like a I don't believe I don't know, I'm
Actually,
so scared of like actuallys, but like milady.
dear
But
dumb, right?
this is Roman history.
We
Not
know,
but still,
right?
there's
Yeah.
so much to love about Greek and Roman history. They're
Hmm.
so silly and similar because
Hmm.
Rome took a lot and copy pasted.
I want to circle
Mhm.
to the idea of we keep on bipping and bopping around our shared love of history, and I'm curious. Another element, something that I'm always kind of scratching at, is the idea of, I kind of hate when people are like, "Oh, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it." Like, I don't think that that's actually true. I think it's people who are unwilling to share history, because it's like, if you know something about how it's happened, like, it's your duty to share that. And I'm curious, how have you found your engagement with history to affect your sort of connections, or like, or a community that you've built around that? Or have you found that?
I think it's made me very interested in, like, where my place is in the world in relation to others.
Mm,
But I think it's also so interesting because, like, I see history so much as just like learning stories about people and learning
mm,
about their lives and things. So I mean also I am so guilty of like needing to try something or check something for myself in order to believe it. And I think that's just also a huge human flaw where it's like
yep,
someone can tell you like, hey, this is how it's going to work, and we're still going to want to know.
yep.
Because I think at the end of the day we're all a little too proud maybe. Hmm.
Mm.
To
There's,
answer your question, I don't actually. History never informs my life, actually, is what I'm learning. Whoops.
you raised something earlier that I wanted to follow up. This idea of the singular conscious, and the sort of the
Mm,
unique perspective that we don't recognize. And something that really kind of twigged my brain years ago was this idea that consciousness actually isn't a renewable resource the way that we believe it is, because we see, we see movies, we see media of all kinds where people are just endlessly dying. We know, up to this point, everybody's died up until now.
yep,
History books are full of dead people, right? And yet we still trick ourselves into believing that it's like this perpetual, continual, connected flow. And it's
mm,
not, because like the singular experience of being Alexander the Great has never happened again. The singular experience of being James Avramenko will not happen again. And so this idea of like consciousness not being a renewable resource in the same way that we treat life. I don't know where I'm going with that. I don't know if there's a question in there, but it's just
no,
this
no,
idea
I
of like,
think what you're saying is since we know how it will end, why are we not using our time more preciously, perhaps?
yeah. And it's not so much like, I'm endlessly bored by people who are like, seize the day, carpe diem, all that stuff. But it's like, it's more about like an appreciation and an understanding of what we've got. And that not necessarily meaning you have to make every day count for something big, but just sort of like recognizing that it's like, this is, as far as we know, this is your one kick at the can. you know
Yeah. I think, I mean, depending how lost in the sauce we're gonna get, I have like some pretty like banana town ideas about some things. So
Lay it
I
on me.
deeply okay, let's go. I deeply believe in like the circularity of time, and with
Mm,
that, the circularity of just human energy.
hmm.
I think like individuality, yes, there will never be another person who's just like you. That will be
Hmm.
never brain. But I think at its core, the energy that goes into powering the spirit, that is something that continues. I've
Hmm.
always felt this is so silly. I feel like I get so like weirdly meta about it, but there's been so many things in life where it'll be a situation or I'll have to do something and I'll just know how to do it. I'm like, this whole thing feels so familiar. Like I must have
Hmm.
experienced it. Or like certain scenarios, like how am I able to like conjure that outcome and like prep for it? Maybe it's anxiety. Who
But
knows?
it's
But
like
like,
remembering. It's not that you're
yeah.
learning it. It's you don't learn it. You remember it.
It feels like, "Oh, I feel like I've done this before." A lot
Mm-hmm.
of my life has felt very familiar. And,
Mm,
like, take that as it will. Perhaps that's just, like, my own brain's, like, need for control, and so I'm finding patterns in everything to
sure.
create some sort of, like, a comfort for myself. But, I mean, like, I think there's also just right now we don't need to get too deep into politics, but there's been a lot of loss of human life like an obscene amount in the last like couple years, and I do think that that affects people energetically. Like
Mhm.
I've noticed a very with people who are sensitive to like the feelings of others because some people are not, and that's so fine. I think that's so fucking powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
But to us softies, like, um, it's just like I think we've all been really feeling it
Mhm,
because like that amount of grief and that
mhm,
amount of like energetic imbalance, I think is also something that's like really, really felt.
mhm,
And I think it's like also kind of like when you can see outside of yourself and you can put your needs to the side and think about it's like, or some people are like, are you a hero or are you like the anti-hero? Because it's like, if you had to pick the world or like your mom, who would you save? And, like it's
mm,
so easy to be like, well, I'd save the world. But for a lot of my life, I'd save my mom. Fuck the
mhm,
world be damned.
mhm,
So it's interesting, like getting to that point where it's like, if I'm able to like turn off my feelings and look at things objectively, then like I've come to a weird place. Sorry, mom, where
yeah.
I think I could choose the world genuinely.
Mm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
It
it's
does, yeah.
that like I think it takes time, and I do think all people are capable of it. It just depends if your cycle of whatever we are doing
Mhm,
calls for it. I think some people are newer energies because I think
mm,
time is happening all at the same time, all on
yeah.
top of each other.
That was something that really messed me up about this astrophysics book that I read, because it was basically talking about how you can see time,
Yep.
and like, just by looking up at the stars, like you're actually observing time, and if you had a powerful enough telescope, you could observe the past, and yeah, I think that there is a deeper cycle within these things. It's a bit morbid, but it's like, it's this idea of like, within the last 100 years, the Earth witnessed the single worst massacre of human life that has ever occurred in a contained period ever, of any recorded history, of any wars, any yada yadas, any skirmishes, anything. In between 1939 and 1945, the world lost more human life than had ever before, but it only topped what had just been the worst massacre between 1914 and
Second Year's
1918.
War, 100
Right?
Years War.
So these constant escalations, and there was this feeling of like, obviously it was a very skewed perception of peace afterwards, and there was a very small sliver of people who got to prosper out of it. But there was this kind of, at least Western world peace that came out of it. Now, obviously, it only lasted a couple days until they started invading Korea and yada, yada, yada. But there was this feeling of appeasement for the blood god, you know? The blood
Mm,
god went to bed for a little bit. And, the blood god still needed feeding consistently, but it didn't need the big gorging meal. And it feels like we're in a period now where the reserves have run dry, and blood for the blood god is back on the menu, and it's not a good thing, it's not a bad thing. I don't think good and evil exist. I think that it's all about impact and interpretation, but it's more about like, what does that mean for us with the scale of potential massacre are already enacting and can potentially escalate to,
yep.
and what does that mean for, like, the value in perpetuating human life? Not to go real dark and not to go real cynical, but it's sort of like we've hit a point where, I read this book earlier this year about nuclear war. It was literally called Nuclear War Scenario. And it basically went through minute by minute what would happen if a nuclear bomb went off in the States. And without fail, every single time, anywhere in the world, once one nuclear bomb goes off, within about an hour and a half, the world is over. There's just no scenario where that's not what happens. And it's not just like, oh, one bomb went off and that's terrible and we feel bad. Like, the cascading domino effect that will happen if one nuclear bomb goes off anywhere in the world, within an hour and a half, the world is over. and it doesn't recover for about 20 to 30,000 years, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's like we've gotten ourselves to a technological point where we've made ourselves irrelevant, you know?
Mhm.
And we're not doing anything about it. We're just saying, like, oh, yeah, cool. Let's give the most unhinged, deranged, pants shitting, narcissistic loser the codes to the fuck to that, you know? And like, yeah, but don't worry, because God's on our side, you know?
It's all just like how just I think human life has never been more or less important. I think all
Mm.
life should be valued the same. It's all just, unfortunately, some people have more access to being selfish. And when you
Mhm.
when you give a mouse a cookie, they're gonna ask for a glass of milk. Like I think there's also I just
So just the context of that book in relation to what we're talking about is fucking iconic.
no, Benjamin Mouse is orange with really small hands.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's all just like people. I think what we need to genuinely do is be a lot more comfortable with being more uncomfortable. We've got to
Mm.
stop wanting and following through on the want. It's
Yeah.
okay to want stuff. It's okay to want to be fancy. It's okay to want a lot of beautiful things. But it's like
Mhm.
by you having that, that means someone else doesn't get to like have something a lot of the time.
Yes.
By
Yep.
you making $1 billion, that means like other people can't make $100,000.
It's a physicalization of a zero sum game, is what
Mm,
all this is. And it doesn't have to be. Like capitalism is a zero sum game, and we don't, as humans, have to exist in
no,
that, you
there's
know?
another way. Money is
Yeah.
literally something that I sell precious gemstones, and it's like, also, please don't stop buying them. I need a job because of the world we live in.
Yeah.
But like, they're just beautiful. I mean, they're beautiful things from the earth, but it's like they're only important because we've decided that.
Yes.
Like money only has value because as a society, we've all put our faith into it. And like Hobbes wrote a book called Leviathan, which is all basically
Mhm.
about how like to have the best form of government, you need one thing above or one person, I think is what he argues, that is aware that they're above everyone else and above law. And everyone who's below them has to agree that that's the one person that gets to make the rules. And yeah, instead of that being a person, that's literally like through capitalism, that's money. Money is the
Mhm.
thing that controls us. And money isn't sentient, it doesn't have feelings. It is a
Mhm.
cold and harsh dictator. And it
Mhm.
sucks because it's like, it doesn't have to be like this.
Mhm.
Sure, I understand wanting to be rewarded for doing a good job.
Of course.
It sucks that the validation of knowing that you're helping or like providing or, doing something that is beneficial to the whole isn't enough.
It's like
But
the fruits of your labor are
mm,
not, if I teach you something that I know, the fruits of that labor is not, and now I get to be a billionaire in a mansion. It's like the ratio,
yeah,
like some loser figured out a way to cut out bookstores.
yeah,
That's all he did. And now society is ruined because of this fucking asshole, And
yeah,
it's like the fruits of that labor do not equate the labor itself.
yeah. Because it's like and I don't know if it's just maybe like I don't know what it is, but I can genuinely like I empathize. I
Mhm.
can empathize with the Jeffrey Bezoses of the world. They saw an opportunity, they were opportunistic, they took a risk and it paid off. And why shouldn't they make money? Why shouldn't they be
Yeah.
successful?
Yeah.
Because by the one having the sum, the whole has none. And
That's
that
just it.
unintentionally rhymed.
Boom.
Quick, Kendrick, I am available for any feature. I'm just kidding. I
Swag.
would never. Swag. Oh, fuck it. Sorry, sir. I would never. I'm so sorry. I'm aware of the space I'm taking up. Let me bring that back in. Alrighty. I'm just going to hydrate.
Oh my god. Oh, fuck. Okay, we just went down a rabbit hole
We
and
did.
got a little grim. Got a little grim.
That's
Uh,
fine. Ah,
I love this shit. Don't get me wrong. I'm clocking the time, and I don't want to just like be like, okay, well, bye. But I
let's
do
go
want
out.
to, yeah, I want to try and bring the energy up a little bit before we do begin the wrap up. This is a little bit of a left turn. I'm gonna smash a few different kind of questions together. We opened the conversation talking a little bit about Vancouver and talking
Mm,
about the community within it or lack thereof. Something that I've been encountering a lot recently is the idea of like the circles within circles within circles within circles of Vancouver, which is already even its broadest circle is a very small circle. In your response to me, in your email to me, you described your your dating and your sexuality as what you called a coffee order, and I thought that was one of the best pieces of language I had heard in a long time. I often refer to my mental health as my ransom note because I'm like
and like the
collecting letters.
pharmacy bill after you're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
so
yeah.
much gonna go." Oh,
Right?
wow.
I'm like collecting letters to like make my demands to the chief of police, and it's like, okay, I got a B, a B, a B, P, and a D. Now I can start spelling something else out. But I thought coffee order was a beautiful piece of language, and I'm curious, how do you engage with the sort of like the circles and the overlaps of neurodivergence, of queerness, of activism, of being fucking burnt out in Vancouver, where it's like the rain starts, and even though everybody knows it rains here, the moment the rain starts, it's like everyone disappears, and then the sun comes out, and
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh right, oh yeah, I'm still alive." How do you engage with that for yourself to kind of keep yourself like joyful and not feeling like? How do you keep
Mhm.
yourself joyful in those realms?
I feel like I just didn't really have community as a kid, and I didn't really fit in Ottawa, and that's fine. And then I didn't really feel like I fit in super well at university. Like I had friends and stuff, but I wasn't like, I don't know, I didn't really feel like myself. I didn't feel like myself until I was here. And it's just, there's something that's like very interesting about this Vancouver because when I first got here, it was really hard to make friends for about like 4 or 5 months, and then something just switched, and it's like, I don't know what, but then it was really easy, and I would just start taking classes on my own of stuff that was interesting to me, like a pottery class, and like there'd be someone my age or like around there, and we just like sit next to each other, and then I would just start like talking with them and like being like, cool, we're doing this together, and like some of those things like led to like really beautiful friendships. Same thing with like some dance classes and stuff, and like I met all of the girls like I do my dance crew. I met all through like studying through unique dance, whoop whoop, shout out. But like it's just like, I don't know. I feel like the way to wrestle with the flakiness of the city and just how closed off it could be is to just like find something that's interesting and like it sucks to do things alone. So go with the intention of meeting someone. It's
Hmm.
scary to talk to people in real life, but I think that there are a lot of environments where that is encouraged and it can be fostered. I'm not
Mhm.
saying like come and talk to me in a nightclub and assume that that means you can touch me. I'm saying like if we're taking a pottery class and we're just like trying to decide what glaze we want to use, we can give each other feedback and we can talk to each
Yes.
other about it,
Yeah.
Or like I also got into Vancouver and I started climbing and I bouldered for like 5 years. Like
Oh wow.
the majority of folks here, everyone climbs. It's sweet.
Right.
Like, I literally befriended a girl climbing there because I asked her to like if I could watch her climb a thing. I was like, "Do you mind?" Like, it's called like betaing. If you show someone how to do a climb, it's you're showing them, you're modeling how they use their body to answer this puzzle. So give me some
Wow.
ideas, like a hint. And
Yeah.
so like, I was just like chatting with this gal about it, and then I was like, "Okay, cool, I'm done." And she like chased me into the change room and was like, "Please, can I have your number?" Blah blah blah. And I feel like a lot of the people I've met, it's been such a weird mix of like people who are from Vancouver and
Mhm.
people who are not. And sometimes I wonder if people just have needed someone compassionate in their life.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of the time, people also feel the need to, like, I think, do something. I'm
Mm.
very much a friend who is like, oh my God, let's just hang out on my couch and like play
Mhm.
on our phones. And like we can do this thing together. I love to give people the space to come as they are. And like, yeah, let's figure out what that looks like. I've really worked on releasing expectations surrounding
Mm.
folks and what they're capable of. And that's not a slight. It's just like sometimes I can't go out after work. I just can't. Like
Yeah.
I'm done. And the same way I would want someone in my life to honor me when I say that, I honor folks who say that to me,
Yeah.
and it's also like giving people space to just be like, it's okay if we're not vibrating at the same frequency right now. It's okay. Maybe we will in the future, but like,
Yeah.
just like bridges don't always have to be burned. Sometimes you can take a step back and it's just like the acknowledgement around like, I don't know. I guess it's like everything is that deep, but it's also not that deep. I
Mm.
think
Mhm.
it's like, yeah. And I mean, I also will acknowledge like a lot of the things that literally just mentioned require like money, and
Sure.
maybe I definitely like am an approachable looking person. I have a
Mm.
nice face, I'm like a kind face person. Like I can acknowledge that these things definitely do help in like getting to know people and stuff, but like
Sure.
I don't know. I think like why be sour when you can be sweet? That's something I
Yeah.
say to myself a lot.
Yeah. I
Don't
think
get me wrong, I can be a huge freaking sour person. Don't get me
can't we
wrong.
all?
I'm not sitting
Yeah.
here being like, I'm so much better. Like,
No,
I've
no,
let
no.
people burn bridges. I've burned my
Yep.
own bridges, and like literally to this day, I'm still heating my hands by that fire. Like,
Mhm.
I'm a
Mhm.
petty bitch, but like
Mhm.
at the end of the day too, it's like, sometimes you just gotta take a risk. I think
Yeah.
so much of life is taking a risk.
Yeah.
And I'm like committing this to memory about work because like work is one place I'm so scared of taking risks. I'm like, oh
Mm.
God, please don't fire me. I need income to survive.
Literally. Yep.
I also genuinely enjoy my job, but it's also that like resource scarcity mindset where I'm just
Yes.
like, fucking Jim, we started here, we're ending here. Like, you never know when you're gonna have your next meal.
Yep.
Literally, Dad, you scared me.
I think that you're tapping into something that I've been really trying to internalize and behave this way myself, and I've also been trying to really trumpet it to as anybody who will listen. But it's this idea of like community is your responsibility, and like the things that you want are your responsibility to do. If you want friends, you have to go be a friend. It's exhausting and it's a pain in the ass and it is inconvenient. But if that's what you want, you have to stop saying other people suck because they're not calling me. Other people suck because they're not texting me, because they're not making plans, because da 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 da. Tough shit. If that's a
Right.
thing that is important to you, you have to be the one who goes and does it. And I believe that in my bones and I hate it. And I fight it all the time and I reject it all the time. But inevitably, whenever it's like, oh, yeah, this is actually a fundamental value of mine that I need in my life that other people aren't doing, but that I want to do with other people. So when I make it happen, inevitably it always feels good. It always feels
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's how it should have happened. Right. And I just think taking that responsibility for yourself is actually kind of a really helpful first step. It's not that it's hard to make friends in Vancouver. It's that people don't take the first step. It's like people are waiting to see who blinks first, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, that is uncommon in other cities, but it's like, okay, then live somewhere else if you can't deal with that, you know?
I think a lot of people here, and I literally my algorithm is just serving me like shelter kittens who are really scared and really standoffish.
Yeah.
And it's like something hurt you.
Yeah.
And like it could be visually there's some things in Vancouver that are really hard to sit with and
Mm,
see every day. And
mhm,
like there's a lot of civil unrest and there's a lot of things that are wrong fundamentally in this city.
mm.
And being a young person too, I think that that's gotta feel really isolating when
Yeah.
everyone who's, like, able to vote before you is just making all these calls for you that just
Yeah.
don't reflect your nature. I think it's, like also, I think why so many young people are so disenfranchised when it
Yeah.
comes to, like, wanting to vote because it almost feels like, "What's the point?" You know?
Mhm.
And
But it's like, that's the
absolutely,
point. That's the
that's
fucking
the
point.
point.
That's
And
why
so
you
it's
vote.
like,
Yep.
I love
Enfranchise
it.
yourself, that's what I always try to
It's just
push
like
is, like, enfranchise yourself then. Go fucking piss them off by going and voting,
yeah,
be a pain in the ass, go vote. Right?
yeah, like, do something about it.
I don't know.
What am I even trying to say?
I often don't know what I'm saying until I'm halfway through my sentence, and even then I'm like, "Yeah, we'll see."
Sometimes they're like really, sometimes I'm really good at holding onto my threads, and then sometimes they're
Yeah.
gone.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I think people here remind me of shelter cats because
Mm.
they are very skittish and they often equate gentleness and someone being kind
Mm.
as a transaction and as if they're
Mhm.
looking for something. And I
Mhm.
don't know what's taught them as a whole, but I do feel as though there's a very and it could also be like a generational thing, like
Yeah.
maybe our whole like millennial Gen Z, like maybe everything this post-capitalistic society has our landscape has colored how we view interpersonal things, and now
Mm.
we don't know what someone wants from us. It's like, what do you want from me? Like,
Yeah.
is am I unsafe? Are you asking for something that's more than I can give? But also we have a
Mhm.
fear around saying no. So by putting up this cold front and by pushing away first, you are protecting yourself.
Yep.
And I think sometimes you just gotta like wear that down a little bit, not in the like no means yes, in the like sometimes you've just got to let someone bail on you a couple times and
Yeah.
meet them where they're at. If someone can't get out of the house, just be like, "Do you want to just like watch a movie at your house? Like I can come
Mhm.
to you." Or like, "Oh, I don't know. Like I love to just like treat my friends to dinner." And so it's just like one of those like little things where I'm like, things are so expensive here, and some of my friends like I'm like, God damn, like let's like take this first pyramid level off of your needs so that
Yeah.
you can focus on things that are more important because like that first level should be a baseline of human necessity and
Yeah.
decency. Not necessity,
Yeah.
but like I think that it should be human rights. I think you
Mhm.
should be allowed shelter, nutrition, food, and warmth. Or
Mhm.
yes, is that Maslow's first thing? I know it's
Yeah.
like food, sleep, and shelter and
Yeah.
water. I think that's
Clothes.
the baseline.
Yeah.
Clothes, I think, is part of shelter.
Is the next one? Oh, okay. Okay.
I think that's all like that one. And then you move towards like
Then,
being
like,
able to be an
dignity.
individual.
Yeah.
It's like dating and esteem. That's like the third one. I think like first it's like friendships and like relationships. I don't think romance. Maybe it's not. Maybe you are right. Maybe I'm just telling you you're wrong out of nothing.
I these are cycles that I haven't studied in years. I'm drawn
No,
from there's cobwebs on that memory,
I'm like
so
sifting through
yeah.
the filing cabinet in my mind. Like,
I'm picturing like an attic, and there's like it's in the back corner, like it's like I don't know. For some reason, my yeah, like, exactly. My mind immediately went to the scene in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation where he finds a present stuck behind the chimney, and he sees it. It's a Christmas present that he's hidden from years before, and it's
funny.
and it's like that's yeah. Anyway, yeah, you are amazing. You're fascinating. Thank
Well,
you so much. I feel like this is one of the things that I am so grateful in doing this show that I didn't realize it was like I was giving myself a little bit of a gift in creating this show
mm,
was creating the opportunity to meet people and chat with them and to get to hear this other side because it's like we've known each other God, going on over a year, you
you
came to my
too.
birthday,
I did come to your
right?
birthday, and I
Which
did win
like
a prize.
right? And
Yeah.
like that, I mean, that immediately puts anybody who comes to my birthday is already like in a tier up. But it's like, yeah, 2 years, something like that. And yet we've never actually had a chance to like have a one-on-one conversation, and I do much better as a friend of mine once said years ago, I'm exhausting in crowds. you know? Like, I'm much better at this. And
Well, you
so
like to
it just,
entertain. You want people to have a good time, and I can
exactly.
appreciate that. But see, people who are like born to host and entertain,
Mhm.
they get spread so thin at social things because you can't
Exactly.
dive into them because they are so concerned about everyone else having a good time that yeah, it's like hard
Exactly.
to dig in.
Yeah. So I just, yeah, taking the time to chat with me means a lot, and I really appreciate it. And I just like, this has been such an amazing conversation, and like, yeah, I really feel like, we were making the joke before hitting record, but it's like I genuinely feel like we could do one of those awful Joe Rogan
Mm.
podathons and still have really cool stuff to talk about. So,
Oh yeah,
um, if you ever want to come back on again, I would love to have you again because I feel like we could keep unpacking some of this stuff.
and I'll bring notes next time on like I'll
Yes.
brush up on a period of history and be like, well, according to the research.
Yes, you got to teach. Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll do a follow up where we'll have to teach each other something. Yeah, there will
Hell
be
yeah.
PowerPoints, or I guess they call them slide decks now. Because
Bro,
yeah,
right.
I
Fried
know.
fucking G Suite.
Ugh. Um, Before we wrap up, though, two things. Where would you like to point listeners if they would like to find you? Do you want to guide them somewhere? Do you want to stay mysterious? What's your preference?
I have a public Instagram. It's just my full name. So at Leandra Guillet. If you want to hang out, I think my meme game is pretty strong. I just post loads of stories.
Yeah.
I do like a photo dump a quarter, but like I don't know, like yeah, you can find me there should you so
Cool.
choose. Or if it's spring summer season, look for me in any park. I'll be sitting there playing a Sudoku, probably smoking a joint.
Fantastic.
Use the
Last
ones.
thing, what I love to I always try to leave listeners with like an actionable thing, and I was saying that in our message, like I always like to try and get a little bit because I'm somebody who can get really stuck in theory. I love talking theory. I'm very much I can what do they call it? I can understand it. I can't necessarily embody it. you know
Conceptualize, yeah.
and so I love leaving listeners on an actionable thing. And I'm curious, what's one thing you would recommend people do if they wanted to be a little bit more of an effective community member, either to themselves or to the people around them?
I think just not being afraid of where your community comes from,
Mm.
like
Mhm.
maybe approach things less. I mean, this is a thing for me too. I'm working on it actively, like try to approach people with curiosity instead of already deciding how the conversation is going to go or who they are
Mm.
already. That would be my like action step for like fostering community is just like people aren't always out to get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God damn. There it is right there. Well, one more time, Leandra Gillette or Guillet. We'll find out. Who knows? Thank you so much. And God, every time I have the same dumb. I always hit the end of the interview, and I'm always like, oh fuck, I still haven't thought of like a sign off. So I always just build. I'm like, okay, well, thanks.
And or how everyone finished their like public speaking in grade school. And yeah, I'm done. Yeah. That is
um,
why apples grow on trees.
yeah. And that's it. Thank you one more time to Leandra for joining me on the show. It's always a pleasure to chat with someone who can indulge both my history nerdiosity and my existential dread. And thank you for making it all the way to the end of the episode. If you want more Friendless content, why not sign up for my weekly Substack? That's where you're going to get weekly recommendations for books, music, movies, all kinds of fun stuff that I have found throughout the week, as well as a brand new piece of experimental writing from me. I've been having an absolute blast writing them, and I think you will have an absolute blast reading them. So if that interests you, sign up in the links in the show notes. But that's going to do it for me, so let's wrap things up here. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope I will catch you back here next week for another brand new episode. But hey, as always, I'm not going to worry about that right now, and neither should you, because that is then, and this is now. So for now,
I'll just say I love you and I wish you well. Fun and safety, sweet peas.